question about the financials and the due diligence aspect of the call-in. Cllr Parr.
Thank you, Chair. It's difficult to pick. There's so many issues in these papers, but which I've read very carefully, including the People's Plan. Just to pick on what seems to be a significant issue in looking at the viability of option 5. There are disputes over the issue of the number of homeowners, leaseholders who want to stay in the estate, as that has an impact on viability, because it's one of the factors that is used because we can buy back properties and so on. There seems to be a lot of disputes, some of which I follow and some of which I probably don't, on what are the correct assumptions to use as to how many people would want to stay. Could you explain what is the sensitivity in the viability to those assumptions about homeowners being correct or not? Thanks.
Does anyone else have a question? Okay. Well, let's have the answer to that one first.
Yeah.
It's quite complicated.
Okay. So the as you say, it's modelled on the basis of 80% of leaseholders remaining on the estate, which was the experience, albeit with a different leaseholder offer, but was the experience on Minesfield North. If members of the committee who were on the committee when we discussed Homes for Lambeth at the call-in last November, maybe remember I talked about kind of lessons learned from Minesfield North and how we looked at the leasehold offer, partly in light of that, particularly around issues around mortgages, for example, and the range of offers that we've put forward, from buying outright to shared equity, where a leaseholder would move into a new property and own 100% of the new property, minus any mortgage they had, and the council put a charge on the property, through to shared ownership, where in effect the council would act as a lender of last resort, where people couldn't get a mortgage because shared ownership would in effect be an interest-only mortgage with the ability for leaseholders to buy more equity over time. And eventually, if someone was in real financial distress and unable to maintain home ownership, if, for example, they were in negative equity, to take a rented home on the estate with the rent level appropriate to their income. So we feel confident that you should be able to. You feel confident that we should be able to match that 80% figure. In terms of the sensitivity within the model, that 80%, if 50% of leaseholders took a new home on the estate, it wouldn't necessarily affect the financial modelling, because all that would happen is that rather than selling one of those new homes to an existing leaseholder, you could sell to a new leaseholder. The money would just come from a different person. It wouldn't affect the 10-year split, because it already assumes a set number of returning leaseholders buying those homes. Instead, you would just have another leaseholder in the same way as leaseholders buy and sell on estates at the moment. So it doesn't affect the financial modelling the way that you would expect, but it does anticipate, because we have confidence in the offer that we have, that any leaseholder who wants to stay on the estate has the option and the opportunity to do so with an offer that meets their financial needs.
Cllr Briggs, did you indicate you wanted to ask on the financial bit?
It's just a very brief question, I think. There's talk about a home loss payment of 5,300 and a significant additional sum of equity of 10% of market value.
Down here!
I'll speak up. Sorry. You talk about, in terms of impact on residents, just while we're talking about financial data, you talk about the home loss payment of £5,300, and for homeowners through the home loss payment, a significant additional sum of equity, 10% of market value. Can I just ask, I'm not, because I hear people saying that they're going to be out of pocket as a result of what's happening, and for all the for all your very clearly detailed understanding of the figures, it's not. I'm still not clear on whether this 10% of market value is market value now or market value when it's about to be sold, when it's going to be, there'll probably be a 20 or 30% drop in market value before it's about to be demolished. So can you just tell me how that's calculated? So it's not a It's not a simple. It's not a difficult question. Why do people think they're going to be out of pocket, and are they?
I can't answer as to what other people think, but to talk through the valuation and the home loss payment and the home loss payment, which I should stress is for tenants, and the 10% home loss, those are both statutory and determined by government. So those are the levels set by government. In terms of how homes are valued, there's an independent assessment carried out by a chartered surveyor who, in the first instance, would be appointed by the council, so the council knows how much it is that it needs to pay. That's done by what's called a red book valuation. It has to be done assuming that no regeneration is taking place. So it is based entirely on the market value. It takes into account market conditions in the local area. If the homeowner disagrees with the valuation that's provided by the first valuation, they can appoint their own valuer of their own choosing, send the bill for that valuer to the council, who will reimburse those costs, so no one ends up out of pocket. And then if the valuations that come back are different, and you would expect them not to be because they're being done by professionals following the same guidance through the Red Book, if there is a difference, then it's in the same way as you negotiate when selling a home privately on the open market, where you ask for £200,000 and someone comes in and offers 190. You negotiate, and as the council, we would always seek to conclude that amicably, rather than having to go down through a lengthy legal process. It's in the council's interest to come to an agreement with the leaseholder, but that's the way that the valuations are done.
Sorry, the question was about when
Thank
was
you.
it done. The question was when was it done?
Yes.
Councillor Dyer, do you want to?
Yeah.
Chair,
Oh, right, you want to come back with that?
Excuse me, Chair, could you
Councillor,
just answer the questions they're asked?
Hang on. But just to answer the gentleman's question, I think what Councillor Bennett's saying is that the valuation is done as if it's not going to be regenerated. So the valuation is as if there's no revaluation, there's no no demolition taking place. So it's the highest. Am I right? I mean, help me out. The highest value prior to regeneration beginning. Is that correct?
I don't know about high, so it's so if regeneration takes 5 years and you've got two identical homes and one is valued at the start and one is valued at the end of those 5 years, the only difference, assuming they're in exactly the same condition, should be market conditions. So if the market goes up 10% over those 5 years, you'd expect there to be a 10% difference. So it's not that the valuation is done at the start of regeneration. The valuation has to be done assuming that there is no regeneration going on. So there's no impact of blight or loss of interest from the open market.
Is that just before?
It would be done at the point at which someone needed to be bought out. So it would be throughout a process. And we've said we would phase it so that people should try and only have to move once. So you would expect it to be over a long period of time through the same.
Councillor Dyer.
This last aspect is of this last aspect that you're talking about is of absolute particular relevance, because I know that and I know nobody don't like me to bring it up, but in Mansfield North, when it pertains to the valuation of properties, the range and diversity of similar bedroom properties in terms of the price over a very short period of time has been very disadvantageous to certain leaseholders and not a good process. So I would like to be really reassured that that process around valuation is going to be particularly robust and that we will be able to see transparently that that is going to be the case, so that actually, so can I speak?
Sorry, I was just getting, you wasn't listening.
I am listening.
You weren't, you were talking.
Hello.
Oh,
Okay, I'm chairing this meeting.
Oh, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, so I would really like to feel really reassured around that process, so that I feel that residents are not going to be sold down the river, because that created quite a lot of trauma within Mansfield North, and we need to learn these lessons. That's one thing. And the other thing is that I'm not as assured as maybe the Cabinet is and officers are around some of these financial processes, and actually whether or not there really exists a robust ongoing robust risk analysis in relation to this process. And I'm wondering whether or not there is something that is in place in relation to the other regeneration schemes in the borough that are a much more progressed process than where Cressingham is. Yes, and what robust financial processes, risk analysis process around the finances are in place there that are being consistently replicated across all of the regeneration projects at all phases, so that our decision making at every point is intelligent and informed around